Welcome back to the Goldpilled show. This is a two-parter. We finished up the first episode, and I remembered I had at least another episode worth to talk about, if you will humor me. So I called my wife to see what my obligations were today, and I didn't have any for the next hour. So here we are again. All right. So we were just talking about freaky, like how I'm kind of on the spectrum in a way. And so I'm on the subway, and I'm like, I wonder how old this car is, the subway car. I wonder what the longest subway ride is. And it's from like 252nd Street or something on the A train all the way down to Far Rockaway Beach. It takes like an hour 40 to get there. So, of course, naturally, YouTube and some other fellow autists had put a GoPro on the front of the train and watched it go from Far Rockaway. And so I did it in double speed and watched the whole thing. So it took me like 40 minutes to watch this double speed YouTube video of the train from Far Rockaway going into Manhattan and going up to Yonkers or whatever. Anyway, and I wondered what was the freakiest. I looked up the salary of the train operators. It's like one lever. It's like go stop, and I thought it would be like way more automated than it was. Like Japan's got these bullet trains that are like AI. No. These trains were all built in the late 1800s, early 1900s, in response to a huge blizzard that had crippled the streetcars on the surface. And so they're like, well, let's just dig tunnels and build cars that won't get stopped by the snow. That's literally why they did it. And then they put all the power lines underground too at the time, because there's old photos of like Manhattan and Brooklyn with like webs of impossible like just electric lines. And when it would freeze over, they would get so heavy they'd all fall down and all the power was out. So anyway, they build these tunnels. And I'm thinking, what's the freakiest thing anyone has seen? So I started looking online, and I, of course, look up the salary of these operators. The freakiest thing is like ghost people, like coming on the train, and then they just disappear moments later. Ghost people on the tracks. Freaky weird noises at night, people living underground. Sometimes they see animals like a deer or something, like a goat. But there's no AI. It's literally, if you've ever been on the subway, if you haven't, it's funny. They either are like, stand clear of the closing doors, please. And it's a voice. And then it'll be like, the next stop is Bleecker Street and 52nd Avenue North. But a lot of the trains are old school, and they have these speakers, and they're always busted. And it's some like black lady who's running the train, and she's like, 152nd Street, express train stop, transfer to D. And you can barely understand what she's saying. And you're like, all right, I'm just going to look at my map app that tells me where I am. It's like, no. So there's no AI. They just drive these trains underground all day. That's their job for 8 hours a day. They're driving trains on these underground tunnels, and it's fascinating. And I went into a big autistic rabbit hole about subways. Wonderful. To replicate, say like there were no subways in New York City, to replicate the system that they have now would cost $3 trillion. That's how much it would cost from ground zero, no pun intended, from the ground up to build this stuff. Like my old home parish here in Nashville got hit by a tornado. It's 4 years later, and they still haven't opened the building. I made the proposal, a modest proposal, if you will, that right after the tornado hit this building, because this is like an antebellum building, like Civil War soldiers were stationed in there for a hospital. Everything was a hospital in the Civil War, okay? And this was a hospital. I was like, you just need to get drunk German peasants or Irish peasants. Go over there and be like, all right, who wants to build a church? Get them kind of drunk, and then make them fire bricks from the parking lot, like a kiln from the earth. Get a kiln, and it will be up, and it would look the same. Like these weren't like necessarily skilled stonemasons. These were just like peasant dudes they're like, yeah, my uncle has built buildings. I'll do it. And then you had one German, because where the parish is in Nashville is called Germantown. So you had one German who's like, yeah, so you want the nave to be 30 meters from the ground, okay? And then the span and width, you just have 1 point guy, and then you get these. Now they're like, okay, we have to make sure the. It's like the most painstaking thing ever. And they're like, there was a water leak, unfortunately, in the west wall. What? How many leaks do you think were there already? Do you know how much black mold is in between the plaster and the outer wall anyway? Just put it back together. Or don't. Even better yet, don't put it back together and just put bolsters up. It like gives it character. Make it look steampunk. Like put all these like riveted iron things like, so in the great tornado of 2020, right before the pandemic, a tornado, an EF2 came by and picked up the roof 3 inches and turned it 6 degrees and dropped it back down on the walls. That's what happened. Okay. Anyway, so I'm looking at the subway, and we're on the subway in Times Square. Times Square, the amount of Africans selling fake hats in Times Square is unbelievable. It's unreal how big and like flashy and loud Times Square is. So we get on the train, and these like punk kids get on. They were the most middle of the mall looking ass punk kids, and my kids are like, one of them had a Bad Religion like patch on her pants with the cross and the like, Bad Religion. And they looked like they had gone to Hot Topic or Spencer's and were like, make me a punk. And he had like this Machine Kills Fascist shirt on. Okay. It kills nobody but my eardrums. The only people's eardrums it doesn't kill is if you're in a Subaru in Vermont. No one, Pete Seeger, please. He is the archetypal NIMBY not in my backyard, like quiet, towering lib guy. Pete Seeger. Oh. Who was the original? Woody Guthrie. Oh my gosh. I can't stay. This land is your land. This land is my land. Like at the time, like, I don't know, maybe he went to the library and read some stuff, and he's like what's his name? Not Pete Seeger. Woody Guthrie's the original like Hicklib. You heard it here first. Woody Guthrie's the OG, like in the truck with the like, by God, I live in Saudi days and I'm voting for Kamala Harris. This Donald Trump, he's gonna take this country to hell. Like, no, you don't think that. Who are you trying to impress in Saudi Daisy, dude? Please. I don't know. Woody Guthrie, it gives me the creeps almost. Like, okay, I get it, and like it's okay, like some of it's okay. But once you realize like how commie these people were, you're like, you're like a weird, like hobo communist guy, all right, who should have stayed like in the outsider art realm because you were a total weirdo. But unfortunately now, like, you're in the literal Subaru commercial for the Super Bowl. This land is your land. Like, Anyway, these kids come on the train, and when they've got a Bad Religion, just and I literally just gotten done playing at a music festival with in my opinion, true punks. Like, they're not dressed like freaks, but they're playing freaky music, and it's totally anti-communist, like pro-God music. Any of the artists at Catholic Palooza, like any of them, like from the rapper to like Hallowed playing, the Smith style kind of post-punk, like groovy jingles. You had this one kid who was playing, I forget his name. He was wearing like a weird suit and like was playing this like techno about like how it's good to go to mass, and it was really good. It was like funny, and like and you had like some like kind of earnest Chaco Catholic kind of guys playing like like earnest music, and you're like, okay, that's fine. And then of course you had the monk, the hermit, who plays a double-necked SG, but he plays soft rock on it. Like, I've got a picture I'll send you for a post or whatever, but I cannot remember his name. Father Maximilian. Double-necked. You heard me correctly. A double-necked SG. I think one of them is 12-string and one of them 6-string. Like one of the gnarliest, most like AC/DC rocking guitars. And he plays soft rock. It's unreal. Anyway, we're the true punks now. Sorry. And one of them said like, punk's not dead. Yeah, it is. You guys are obviously not. You're who else? I saw 0 punks walking around. No one has a mohawk. Like that's like Marc Jacobs now. Okay? Like that's been totally laundered. Like what's his name? The guy who did Trash Humpers and Gummo, Jewish guy, Harmony Korine. All that stuff is like, that's like Louis Vuitton now. All the weird outsider weird stuff. By the way, let's get into that right now before I get into the rest of New York. Trump almost got his head blown off. It was a miracle. You probably read a million things and heard a million things. I'm not going to rehash it too long because it's been so long per our schizophrenic news cycle brain. But he almost got his head blown off, and a guardian angel, pressed the button, like had the lady press the button on the immigration graph, and he's like, if you look here, almost blew the back of his brain off. Weird little kid with a weird gun shirt on that's like gun equipment. Weird. I was in Montana with this guy who was a SEAL. He was he was a Green Beret medic. And I'm like, tell me, what's up? He's like, dude, the Secret Service they're just like cops. They're not like Alpha Squadron. They're like cops. And you saw these women like ducking and like Trump is my height. He's like 6'4". He's a big dude. And he's got a big grandpa belly and he's just a big dude. And what are you going to I'm going to get you. Get down, Mr. President. He's not going to get down with through like chubby hands like Like the last thing I want to feel if I'm being shot at is mommy hands, like soft mom hands, like get down. Get down now, sir. Get down, boy. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to feel that. Like maybe in like my thigh area, could the big booty like actually pose some sort of ballistic protection? You know what I'm saying? Like the big wide hips. I'm like, like that's a lot of flesh there, and it's a lot of ballistic girth. By the way, Ballistic Girth is playing at, this is a Gavin joke. Ballistic Girth is playing at Exit next week. Anyway, so Trump almost gets his brains blown off. Then he has the RNC, which is embarrassing. Then the biggest political blunder of Trump's campaign ever is that he did not immediately get on Twitter and just start tweeting. He's still on Truth Social that only boomers get on. No, who else is on Truth? No one's on Truth Social. He should have come back on, like when he got indicted in that mugshot photo, and he came back on Twitter for the first time in like 3 years and was like, never surrender, and like posted the hardest photo of all time, him like in like mean mugging the mugshot camera. Unbelievable. Like it went nuts. The internet went nuts. Dude, you almost got your noggin splattered. Get on Twitter, dude, and be like, these communists must fail. Or like, we will take back this country. You could say whatever you want. Just make it short and like, we will take back this country. Many want me dead. Or God wins. I don't know. Like say God wins. The internet would go nuts. Everyone would love you. Instead, you like put on Truth Social like, some say I'm trying to kill democracy. I almost died for it. That's funny. Dude, you've got to become Napoleon after that on Twitter, dude. Whoever is guiding you, which is probably no one. Dude, massive misstep. Because then what happened? It got memory hold. But if you're out there going, I got my head, check my ear. It got pierced like many of the freaks. Many of the freaks outside of my rallies, they're losers, born losers. Merry Christmas to the haters and the losers. They can't help it that they were born fucked up. That's what he literally tweeted in 2013. Make Trump 2014 again. Where are you, dude? You had the opportunity of a lifetime. Just the one-liner of a lifetime. You could have posted a selfie with your ear and just said, missed me. Like this. And gone, missed me, bitch. The world would have gone nuts. You'd be just shoe-in president. Now we're like, Kamala's brat and okay, skibbity brat Kamala. Montel. No one cares. But now everyone's like, oh no, if Taylor Swift tweets, vote Kamala, we're done for. How black-pilled are you? How? This is all leadership, though. If Trump was like, Kamala sucks. This guy was a total loser. Look at his physiognomy. A total dork loser that somehow in 2024 had zero digital footprint ever at all. Except for this one suspicious Gab account that was pro-Biden. Weird, like, I mean, just go on there. Kamala is a dork. She's a high school principal archetype. Listen to her. She sounds like she's about to announce that your square pizza is canceled because Sodexo ran out of supplies. Just roast her ass for being a high school principal. That's what she is. I need you in my office. Like, she's the black lady principal. Okay? Gosh, that pissed me off so bad. I mean, I was gung-ho. He wins. I think he wins. Unless enough boomers have died since 2020, he wins. I mean, because the Dems are lawfaring the shit out. They're trying to make this lady brat. I don't know, man. I think he wins. Enough people are fed up. However, the demographics have to be there. That's real. And if the boomers are his block. And if the boomers are dead and aren't pissed off enough, then she's going to win. I would be stunned, though, if she did win. Like, handily. If she won handily. It's Kamala Harris, guys. I know everyone's like, it's Donald Trump, the apprentice, or like, it's Donald Trump, he's a buffoon. Dude, Kamala Harris, they're trying so hard to make her brat. Like, no one's excited about her. No one knows who she is. Like people really don't know. Like, her name's kind of hard to say. Like, this is late in the game for campaigning. I don't know. If Trump can't get elected in an upcoming recession with his head almost getting blown off, with the best that they have for Kamala is a coconut meme because of her bullshit communist folksy coconut saying, she said, it's like I didn't fall out of the coconut tree. Man, you're not folk. You're not folk. People, by the way, this is the Witt's folk axiom, folk theorem. If the more someone says folk or folks, the least folk or folks they are. They're communists wanting to be folksy. So they're going to be like, folks. Anytime someone says something like, well, some marginalized brown and yellow folk. I mean, no. So she's like, folks. Da, da, da. I don't know. I think everyone's blackpilling. Like, polls are showing Kamala Harris is up. That should not even be... Trump, you shit the bed, dude. You almost had your head blown off. You got the lightest flesh wound, but it's just a flesh wound. You got that. The lightest flesh wound of all time. The cartilage that doesn't really even hurt on your ear. Right here, you got an ear piercing like a pirate. And a bullet, 223, went 1 millimeter from the back of your skull. It might have cut some hairs off your head. And you didn't get on Twitter and just say, like, fuck you. Just, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to cuss. Yeah, get a dead, like, loser. Like, hold your ear and, like, missed me, bitch, with, like, the fist up. Missed me, bitch. Hardest tweet of all time. Then the next one is the dead loser. It's be like, loser, all caps, dead guy's face. That's the next tweet you tweet. Loser. Then the third tweet is, we will win. That's it. We will win. like not on Truth Social, being like, "Hello, I was speaking with Melania last night." No, dude, golly. Like Brat, she's Brat. She is not Brat. I know what Brat is. Brat is the guy in the dress on stage at Wicked. That's Brat. You're trying to make her into some sort of campy gay icon. She's not that. She was the freaking DA. She's frumpy. She's giving. What do they say now? Giving. It's giving. She's giving public school principal. Do you want to be in the principal's office for the next 4 years? I don't. Or do you want to go to Trump Tower, right next to St. Pat's? I want to go to Trump Tower. It's awesome. It's huge. It's gold. Like the inside of the lobby has awesome marble walls with a little waterfall and an escalator. And everyone who works there, they're all like super happy to be there. I went there in 2017 and bought a hat. And you had these like hot Russian girls who were like manning his store, and they're like, yeah, so you want a hat? I'm like, yeah, like the red, like, okay, here, fill out that you're a U.S. citizen right now. And I'm like, okay, no problem. Here we go. Because it's technically like a campaign contribution. Like, and you have to fill out that you're a U.S. citizen. And then I went and got a buffalo chicken wrap from his little like cafeteria. And it's like old black guy, like missing 2 teeth on the bottom row. I was like, hey man, do you like working here? And he's like, yeah. It's awesome. And I was like, really? I was like, really, for real? Like, you don't say that, just like, you like working here? He's like, no, yeah, they're really good to me. It's really good. Like, I was like, you ever see Trump? He's like, yeah, sometimes. I'm like, that's cool. What do you think of him? He's like, he's awesome. He's like a really great boss. He's awesome. I'm like, okay, cool. If your workers are happy and they're like, yeah, it's cool. He's like pays me pretty good, like takes care. And he's like, man, Trump takes care of us. He takes care of his people, And I'm like, yeah, let's roll. I want Daddy Trump energy around. Okay, like, listen, I've never apologized in my life. I'm on my 3rd wife. She plays with the beads, her rosary. Playing with the beads, praying, Hail Mary over and over. I want that. We want Papa Trump energy. We don't want to be in the principal's office. You know that. This Thanksgiving, well, that'll be too late. Before this Halloween, at your Halloween party, just say it. If you're with libs, or maybe you got a lib family member or someone, they're like, Kamala's Brat. That's the biggest psyop of all time. I wish she was Brat. I wish she was a freaking Brat. She's not Brat. I wish she was like a stanky freaking camp like lesbian lady. That'd be even easier to beat. But she's not, and you want her to be. She's like the DA of California. Like, ugh. Okay, so Trump. That's Trump. Where are we going with that? Anyway, speaking of Trump Tower, I'm in St. Patrick's Cathedral on my trip. Go in there. There's my kids have never been in a church that big. And one of the cool things about being Catholic, and the cooler thing with having Catholic children, is like we just flew. We went to Mass in Nashville, not in Bozeman, but we like passed a Catholic church and crossed ourselves. And then we went to Jacksonville, and we went to Mass there. And then we went to New York City, and we went to Mass that day, like when we landed. Not that day. When we got into Manhattan, we went to St. Patrick's. And like they walk in, and it's just like gigantic, beautiful church. So beautiful. And they've never been in anything like that. And they're like, wow. And they're like, who are all these people? I'm like, oh, they're tourists. They're like, they're not here to go to Mass? I'm like, no, they're coming here to just like take pictures. And they're like, wow, this is cool and like special. And like, we're in this big, giant, beautiful city with this big church. It's just like cool, It's a cool thing. Like, yep, I'm Catholic. Anywhere I go, our people are there. We're there. So we go to Mass St. Patrick's, beautiful. And like they had the ushers, and we had to go up and we're like, hey, we're here for Mass. And they got the little velvet rope and like undid it, and we went up. And we're sitting there, and the priest comes out. First of all, the organ's playing. This is like a 1 p.m. Mass. The organ's ripping. And before the mass starts, they're like, welcome, like this woman gets up, she's like, welcome to St. Patrick's Cathedral. While we are glad that you are here viewing our beautiful building, we ask for a reverent, quiet atmosphere as our central act of worship begins. The celebration and the liturgy of the Eucharist, the Mass, the Holy Mass, whatever. And like it's like the UN in there. You know, you got the like ni hao, like Laotians behind me. Got some like French people talking, and we're all like in Mass, like we're ready to rock. And so then this guy gets up and he starts singing. This is a Novus Ordo Mass. He starts singing the most beautiful, like, freaking choir voice ever. And he's like, today we are reading, and it's like a normal kind of voice, like, today we'll be singing out of the hymnal, page 36, you know. Then he's like, oh, he's like Anthony Bocelli, like during COVID, like in front of the Duomo or whatever. The organ's ripping. Then they read the readings. The priest gets up, and he's like this kind of unassuming and quiet guy, but you can hear that he's from New York. He's a New Yorker. And he goes, you know, as we read last week, the disciples and the Jews, they were astonished that our Lord would be present in bread. Are you astonished? Because I do this every day, and I'm still astonished. And one of the things we need to recapture as Catholics is the astonishment that God himself would become bread for us to eat. It's unreal. And yet, so many New Yorkers don't believe. They don't even go to Mass, much less confession. However, some New Yorkers go every day. And I'm just like looking at my wife like, I thought we were getting like so in this passage about hell, God wants you to not feel bad about yourself. God wants you to be friendly to those who are mean to you. Okay. Like some kind of feel-good sermon. This guy comes in and is like, many New Yorkers don't go to Mass. Some love the Lord so much they go every day. Which of them are you? And I'm like, oh my gosh. You have like tourists walk around like, what the... Like, he's like, other people say that this isn't really the Lord. Protestants, you know, it starts like ripping. And I'm like, okay, dude, let's go. And he ends it. He doesn't fluff it. He just, you know, there's no fluff in the homily. He just ends it. And we receive and we go on. And we're looking around. And I see him go down the little back stairs behind the high altar. It's like a crypt. You know, I guess that's where the crypt is. And I was like, hey, nice homily. He's like, beautiful family. Wow, you noticed? And you think we're beautiful? Okay. Thanks, dude. I go, well, thank you. He's like, have a good day. Yeah. And goes on down. I'm like, this is awesome. We're in New York. It's endless people. I can just see all the people and like the nuances of them, and I just love it. We're at St. Patrick's. It's beautiful. No, it's not like tip of the hat, trad, high. But, you know, you got to go to St. Patrick's once. Go to Mass there at least once. It's so beautiful. The last time I was there was Halloween of like 2018. And this other priest gave a ripper too. He was like ripping on relativism. And at the very end, the organist, the processional music, it was like, the Halloween, whatever that is, toccata and fueg or whatever, booming. Ripping. No one left their seats. Every tourist stopped in their tracks while this organist, you could see him up there, like with his feet, like ripping that song so heavy, like max volume. Like you could hear it probably 3 blocks away. It was so loud and it boomed like spooky. It's our holiday. Anyway, Halloween. Sorry. So St. Patrick's was awesome. It's beautiful. Many relics. So we go to the Statue of Liberty. Now, as we're approaching on the boat, I feel like we're chattel on this big concrete boat. You know when you get on a boat and you're looking, it's like, this is made of concrete. How's this floating? Weird. Oh yeah, like displacement, Archimedes or whatever. So we're going down. We get close to the statue, and I'd been there apparently when I was younger, but I don't really remember it. And we float up, we dock, we get out, and we go. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is cool. Like, it's iconic. Duh, it's the Statue of Liberty. People from everywhere. And I'm looking at it, and I just start noticing. And I'm like, is this some sort of Masonic idol? It just gives off masonry. So I Google it. And lo and behold, who put the cornerstone or whatever who laid the first brick of this building? The Grand Lodge. What was the architect? A Mason. So we ascend this neo-Masonic idol to the pedestal. I'm retarded. I thought I'd get tickets to the crown. Apparently the elevators, like, people back then were skinny. These are for like skinny people from back in the like 30s. Like I could fit in it. And maybe my son. That's how skinny the elevator is to go to the crown. And there's room for like 5 people, and you have to book these tickets like 4 months in advance. So we went on the regular pedestal around the base, and my kids were talking to some British lady or an Irish person asking if they've seen leprechauns for the 5th time. It's like the 5th Irish person we met. Like, do you see leprechauns? And they're always like, not yet. I'll let you know. They're real, first of all. They're money gremlins. They're ore gremlins from like the 6th layer of hell, and they just like get to come out every once in a while. And they're ore gremlins. That's why I don't like Notre Dame having a leprechaun as their like mascot, because like leprechauns are like scary in Irish folklore. Like they're scary, freaky, weird goblins. And like, yeah, you get to the end of the rainbow and they're gold, and they'll like kill you because you're near their gold hoard. If I saw a leprechaun, I would go, I just saw a leprechaun. They're real and they're freaky. They're real. So anyway, we're at the Masonic temple, and I'm looking out, and I'm like, dude, what a great, like now with like Instagram and photo ops and yada yada, like what other thing but a Masonic thing? Why else would they ship over this massive statue made of copper sheets this thin? Like it's, and the trusses, and it's like intricate, and to like sit there on the harbor, like, and France is giving it to us. Why would France does not like us. Why was France giving us anything? They don't even like us after World War II, when the Germans totally mogged them in Paris. They're like, and the Germans are like, silence, subhuman. Like, yeah, silence, please. Oh, look at your little Eiffel Tower. And your baguette and your stinky women. Like that. Okay. Yeah. And your little weird French stuff. Okay, sure. Hey, French peasant, come and dry clean my Hugo Boss. Okay. No one. Why? It's a Masonic exchange. Okay. And so I'm just like, this is weird. And you go in the base, and there's a little museum, and it shows you the renderings, like the artist conceptions for the first like iterations of it. Freaky. One of them was like a god like with his legs on like 2 different huge blocks, so you could like go under between his legs, and he has like a big thing, and he's like more of like a powerful like Soviet looking like god guy. And you're like, all right, what? This is all weird. It just smells weird. It feels weird. The what? The guide? Oh, these were the so like in the pedestal, there's like a little mini museum of like, hey, here's the initial renditions, like the renderings, like artist sketches of like what and then one of them like won. And so when they first brought it over, it was shiny like a penny. Then it took like 10 years for it to all turn green. That's freaky. Why would you choose that? If you know it's going to turn this freaky weird green color, why wouldn't you want it to be shiny? Like, did they not have a long-term maintenance plan for like keeping it shiny? Anyway, so we leave the Statue of Liberty, of Liberté. Okay, let's be real. Fraternité and Liberté, which we will get into actually right now. Speaking of égalité, fraternité, and liberté, did y'all watch the Paris Olympic opening? Because my kids and I did until the Ménage à Trois scene came on. Did you see this? Did you see this? The Ménage à Trois vignette on the opening, for the opening ceremony. So the whole thing was obviously this gay, weird, and again, I was starting to notice things. And the producer, I'm not going to say it. What did Kanye say? I'm not going to say it. It was a Jewish producer. It was a Jewish doctor. And I'm watching it and I'm like, this is so French and gay and weird. I'm not saying anything. And my kids are like, this is kind of weird. And I'm like, this is the most ghetto looking. Because it was cheap too. Like the Chinese one, I don't know if y'all recall that. They had like 30,000 Chinese guys with these Chinese drums. And they're doing a huge drum routine. And they got the paper dragon coming through. And like, it was crazy. And the Russians had their own thing. And the Greeks from the year 2000, that one was the best, in my opinion. The Greek procession where it's like, anyway, it was great. Dude, this Paris one, it was so cheap. It looked like I had scrambled last minute and then I put in a ChatGPT. Okay, how would a gay dude do this, be able to pull this off in 72 hours? All right, you get Lady Gaga, who's not even French. How cucked are you? You don't even have French artists except for the black lady who's really African, who's doing her like African thing, and they have the French old guard coming up and like getting cucked. Like it was like a humiliation ritual. There were so many facets. They literally had a menage a trois, like Paris, the city of love, and then it had like two fags and like a girl, and they're like, it's like a Dior ad. Like they're like sensuously dancing upstairs, and then they go into one room with a bed and they shut the door, and before they do it, the guy's like, shh, with the lip drag like this. Shh. Are you looking at the menage or whatever? At one point, my oldest daughter goes, is this gay? And she didn't mean it like pejoratively. She was like, is this like, rainbow flag gay? I'm like, yeah. I turned it off before the Last Supper debacle. Not like they could have. It's Antichrist, spirit of Antichrist, but it's so ghetto. The way they did it was so ghetto. They had like Rammstein, or I forget what the name is, some new metal band playing on like this old castle with like a beheaded Marie Antoinette singing. And it was just so ghetto, like it was bad. It was bad. So I didn't watch all of it. We didn't watch it, but I'm so glad because it's just, and they're like, no, it's the Bacchanalia, Dionysian, no, it's a reference to a motif from antiquity. See, actually Christianity stole this Dionysian, motif. No, we didn't. No, we did not. Dude, the Last Supper, who did that? Michelangelo? Who was the one who painted that? Da Vinci? Someone? Raphael? I don't know. The Da Vinci Code? Okay, Da Vinci does... First of all, dude, that's stylized to begin with. They're not all lined up on one side. They're probably in some, like, freaking... They're in the upper room. It's like this... It's not like a palatial thing. It's Da Vinci. He's like, okay, so I'm in a perfect proportion on the foreground of this painting with the back. He's like, when he's painting, it's like Oppenheimer in the movie, like thinking in atoms. Like he's not like, okay, I'm going to do a hyper realistic upper Jewish room in wherever, like Jerusalem. No, he's not doing that. So Da Vinci painted that, and it became an icon of Western Christianity. Then you go and parody it with some of the ugliest. Like you could have made him. I mean, you've got attractive people in France. Why are you putting these like threes? There was a 3 in there. Like, don't have a 3. You already did a 3-some. Just don't go with the 3 motif. Get us like a 7. At least make it like, what is it? A spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. Like, this stuff tastes like shit, and it looks like shit. I don't want to see this. No one watches this. The Catholic Church itself, like even in like neutered Europe, was like, we don't agree with this. Hey, wait a minute. This is not good for us. This is how do you say, blasphemy? I mean, it's ridiculous. And my kids are like, Daddy, is this gay? Yeah, it is. It's gay and weird. All right. So we get done with the Statue of Liberty tour. And I noticed, because I'm a noticer, you remember the movie Up? Where like little old man, the fat Boy Scout, like he lives in this little house, and all these office buildings are built up around the house, but he won't sell the house. And so it's just his house and then the office buildings. Do you remember this? Okay. The St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Shrine across from Battery Park at the very tip of Manhattan is that house. There's a little church and a little house, and then like 50 to 70 story skyscrapers right next to it. And I'm like, what's that little thing? Oh, the St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Shrine? Sweet. My middle daughter's patron saint is Elizabeth Ann Seton. So after our tour, we walk across the street, and like paint's peeling on the door, like the building's from like 1801 or whatever, and we knock on the door. No one answers. I press the little ring button. It's like bing boom, bing boom, bing boom, but it's like an off-brand ring. It's like some ratchet ring. Bing boom, nothing. So we walk away, and then the door opens, and this lovely young sister walks out, and she looks like a Dominican sister, except they look like Dominican sisters, except part of her habit's blue. And she's like, hello. And we're like, hi. We're like walking away. She's like, can I help you? I'm like, yeah, can we come see the shrine? She's like, sure, come in. So we come in. I'm like, what order are you? They're like, we're the sisters of life. And I'm like, okay. Are y'all new? They're like, relatively, yeah, from the 80s. And I was like, cool. What do y'all do? They're like, oh, we house women who are seeking abortions and like let them live with us, and then we help them have babies and not abort their kids. And I'm like, okay, what's your average? Then like 2 more sisters appear from the hallway, and they're young and like, relatively attractive. I'm just going to say it. And I'm like, what? What's the average age? She's like 30. And I'm like, whoa. So they tell us like all about this stuff. I've got a spooky, crazy story about the Sisters of Life that I'm not going to share on the show. But it's just it's a mini miracle. Let's just say that. Spooky, crazy story I'm not going to share on the show. So anyway, they walk us through the shrine. My wife's crying because she's pregnant, and they're talking about saving children. And then we just have like this incredible time with them. I turn the corner, and my oldest daughter's like praying in front of a crucifix with another sister. And I'm like, yeah, what? This is way more important than whatever's going on in these buildings next door. And especially whatever's going on at the freaking Statue of Liberté. Okay, the French Revolution, its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. Okay, just watch the opening ceremony of the Olympics in Paris. Ugh. Anyway, we leave. So they're like, I'm like, where are y'all going? They're like, to the Bronx. We have to go save a mom. And we're like, right now? They're like, yep, right now. This is our like consult building, but we have houses all over New York that women stay in. And I'm like, Godspeed, God bless you, have a good one. and they leave. Unbelievable women. And they're like, oh, we love the Nashville Dominicans. Like, they help us and we help them. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Y'all kept your habit. They're like, we always had a habit, you know, because it was in the 80s we got founded. And I'm like, you kept it, though. They're like, yeah. I'm like, that's why y'all are bumping. That's why these women are like, oh, let's go. I want to go help. And like, when they open the door and, like, come in, like, this, like, black lady with her little kid, like, walked out. And I was like, oh, I guess she's coming for the shrine. I have no idea. I'm in New York, you know. Nope, she's coming to get, like, Pampers and, like, not kill her child. Thanks. Love those women. Unbelievable. And I was like, do you take the subway? They're like, yes. And we also have some old minivans. I'm like, where do you park them? It'd be funny if they had parking. Like, that's like, there's no parking. And how many minutes are we? Okay. Lastly, let's talk about air conditioning. The air conditioner at my hotel sucked so bad that I had to give them to bring me a fan to put on the air conditioning thing. The air conditioner was maybe from the 60s, and it was like if 5 of me took a bunch of breath mints and then got behind the grate and went like, it was that weak. 5 of me going at the Park Lane Hotel, like a nice hotel right next to the Plaza Hotel. Like a premier hotel. Like, we ate brunch on the, like, 47th story overlooking Central Park. And this is why I love the North. What are you looking at? Yeah. There was no rainbow flag in front of it. But we get to, like, so I call down, and it's like, it's owned by of course, I'm a nerd, so I Google who owns it. And it was sold to this, like, Qatari like, investment group. So, like, the Muslims own it, the Qataris own it. So when I call, it's like some Persian lady who speaks like English, like she was taught in Britain, but she doesn't speak English well. She's like, "Hello, Mr. Smith, how can I help you?" And I'm like, "It's hot in here." She's like, "Okay, we will fix it." They didn't, so I went down to the front desk and I'm like, "Hey, listen, I'm too Southern for this. Like, this is hot. Okay, I got a pregnant wife. We need some AC." Everyone's like, "Look, AC's killing you. It makes you weak, blah, blah, blah." I understand. Okay. But Florida was the least populated state in the United States until Mr. Carrier came along and said, "Let me make your hair colder and less humid at once, like in one fell swoop of my fan, less humid and colder." And he did it. And now Florida's bumping. I'm a big fan of AC. I used to, when I met my wife, I was a grimy goblin. I kept my air conditioner at 80 degrees. I kept my front and back door open, and I had a constant cross breeze. I rode my bike all day. I was a grimy, sweaty goblin. I probably weighed 30 pounds less than I do now, maybe 40. And I was like, yeah, I don't need AC, man, whatever. I'm like, grounding and all that. That's fine. But when you have a big old pregnant wife who's got a big old belly and there's a little baby and they're like booting up, like, she's like, "I'm feeling the baby," and I come to feel it, and I can feel this, like, lightest, like, And I don't know if it's her, like, stomach gurgling or, like, the baby kicking it. And it's like, She's like, "I'm dying. I'm hot." Yeah. You should be sprawled out on a sheep field with mist on your face, and it's like 75 degrees max. 80's pushing it. You should be having ladles of cool spring water and a sheepskin rug on, laying on it. That, or like in a little stone house. It's like, and you got a cross breeze, like a hobbit house. It's where my wife belongs. Not in the New York City in the summer with, like, the concrete jungle. I bet it's like 10 degrees hotter in New York than it is in, like, an hour away. Because the concrete absorbs the heat and keeps it hot at night, and then keeps it, like, cooler in the morning because it just radiates the heat it has from all day. So at night it's hotter, and in the morning I would guess that it'd be a little bit cooler. But during the middle of the day, it's hot. It was like the same temperature as is in Nashville with a little bit less humidity and some of the sea breeze. Too hot. The subway, Most of them don't have AC, or a lot of them don't. Hot, stinky, underground. There's like goblins under there, rats. The amount of rats we saw was incredible. Now I heard there was a rat apocalypse. I will say, dare I say, Holocaust? No, I'm just kidding. There was no burnt offering with Hurricane Sandy. So this big flood happens, and apparently it like killed all the rats because they can like swim for like 30 minutes and hold their breath for like 30 minutes. But when there's a flood that's like filling up the whole subway, can you imagine? Oh my gosh. Can you imagine how disgusting the water that you're walking in from New York City's flood? Oh my gosh. Because I remember seeing it and like water pouring into the subway stations. And that's got to be below sea level. Right? I mean, it's disgusting. Anyway, what else do I have to talk about? Oh yeah, one thing. The Globo Homo kind of aesthetic. So when I went to New York in 2007 or 6, you had hipsters, you had punks, you had people with boom boxes, you had freaks. It was like freaky deaky, and people were like really strutting their stuff. They had style. There were like street photographers taking pictures of what people were wearing. Now everyone wears the same thing. Like there's no like funkiness. It's like everybody's normcore now in a way, but they don't do it right. Like everyone's just kind of like blah. Now I will say the women in New York are very beautiful, and they wear dresses, and like people are more dressed up in New York City than they are anywhere else that I've ever seen. Maybe London is better. And they're like dressed up, but like it's this, you'll see a guy with a suit on that looks nice, and they'll be wearing these like Cole Haan sneaker dress shoes with the white soles that are like sneakers. Just wear sneakers, dude. What are you, like business on top, marathon on the bottom? No one cares. That looks bad. And that was like the best of it. Everyone else is just like wearing a t-shirt. I don't know. It's just like, where did all the fashion go? There was like fashion back in like 07, 08 up in New York. And then when in 2017 I went, not really. 2016, 2018, Then now it's like everyone's on their phone. Like back then, before you had smartphones, like people were like, all right, I'm single and I'm kind of a weird poet guy or whatever. I don't know. I'm like into something and I dress kind of weird. Or like, this is my style and I'm going to dress that way. Now, like the most you get is this like Japanese photographer look with these women, the rich women, like at the Met, you can tell. I've got these big giant flare jeans that like, not jeans, like pants, and they're cuffed like 4-inch cuff. And then they barely come up above the sneakers, and they're wearing like a bucket hat, and they have this like baggy shirt on, and they're like with their, it's like Japanese lady stuff. It's like, okay, that's cool looking. That is actually kind of cool. But the dudes, like, if you watch my last episode, I'm talking pep moobs. Okay, like that's what you've got now is your gross pep moobs. Oh my gosh, imagine. Like a wet t-shirt contest looking pepperoni moobs. And like a funky little skirt thing. Ugh. I don't know. It's like everything's becoming so homogenized. And like back then you'd have people make fun of you if you went to like the suburbs at like the grocery store or something. And I guess people are just like self-censoring because they'll make fun of them on the internet or something. Like they don't want to be memed. I don't know. It's weird. Like back then everyone's like diversity and everyone's dressing the same everywhere. It just happens to be a little bit higher quality in New York. But I was a little bummed. I don't know. Maybe I need to go to some sort of freaky hipster enclave to see that stuff anymore. But is there even one in New York City anymore? Like Brooklyn's expensive. Williamsburg is expensive. I have no idea. If you're from New York, let me know. 99, baby. I love you. Goodbye.